Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the legendary third film in the franchise. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas went back to the original and captured the entertainment and fun of Raiders of the Lost Ark for an epic third film. Let's break down Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh boy, what's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast, and we are on episode 3 of our namesake episode with The Last Crusade. This is my personal favorite Indiana Jones film, and we've watched the first 3 pretty much back-to-back nights almost, and
It's been a fun week.
yeah, it's been a great week, and I just think that this film's so delightful. It gets back to all the great elements of the original film in so many amazing ways, and also, this is also a heavy character film. I mean, we get to explore Indy's past, we get to explore his relationship with his father, and we get to see so many new elements to him as a human being and as a character, which is also one of my favorite aspects of the film, as well as the stunt work. The action set pieces are bigger than ever. It's huge, and we get the third religion, which is really fun. And what I love about the Indiana Jones first 3 films is it basically confirms all 3 religions are real. So first we get the Hebrew God and Raiders, and the power of the Hebrew God at the end of the film. Then the power of Shiva at the end of Temple of Doom. And then we have the power of the Christian God at the end of this film. So they basically confirm all of these religions are real.
It's pretty interesting, and we talked about that in Temple of Doom, how religion as a thematic motif in storytelling and visuals of the Indiana Jones franchise basically ended in this century. I mean, the 20th century, not this current century. Crystal Skull going more towards aliens, and then Indiana Jones' Dial of Destiny don't even bring up really religion at all. It's the first one that really has not much to do with religion. But like I said in the opening bit of this episode, The Last Crusade really brings back the feeling, the nostalgia, the style of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Temple of Doom gets dark, gets sinister, a lot of blood, a lot of red,
So much
as
red.
well as really just in one location for the most part. Last Crusade, we're globetrotting again. We're in beautiful, stunning locations, filming in Jordan, filming in Venice, Italy, in August during tourist season. Tourist season, filming in August, and obviously tourism was not as bad as it is today. If you went to Venice today, oh my God, totally different.
It's a mob.
But still, they filmed all over the world for this movie. And like Anthony said, a great character piece, studying the relationship of who raised Indiana Jones. Where did he come from? A great little mini origin story that explains so many things, like how Harrison Ford got his scar, Indy got the scar on his face, where Indiana Jones's phobia of snakes came from, even though he wasn't afraid of snakes until the opening. As well as where did he get his bullwhip, the origin of his style, his look, his hat, the leather jacket, the whole thing comes from this remarkable, extremely exciting and fun opening sequence with a young River Phoenix playing a young Indiana Jones, and then an incredible dynamic duo of Sean Connery freaking James Bond with Harrison Ford, magnetic on screen together. The chemistry is off the charts. Harrison playing the son, the junior of Henry Ford Sr., and Henry Ford is an intellect. What?
Henry Ford was a car builder, bud.
Huh?
You're calling them Henry Ford.
What am I saying?
You're saying Henry Ford.
Henry Jones. Oh, I'm sorry, Henry Jones.
Not the car maker.
Henry Jones.
The character.
My
the
bad.
characters in the film.
Henry Jones Sr. is an intellect, and I love how they show the differences where he's more of a bookworm, not a field person, whereas Indy's the exact opposite.
I love so much of this film, and I love the dynamic between the two. There's so much great humor is mined from that relationship. And I love the opening so very much. I think it's really fantastic. It actually even inspired George Lucas to do the Young Indiana Jones TV series because the opening of this film with River Phoenix was so fantastic and so well done and highly entertaining. And it really got right back to the roots of what we all love about the elements of Indiana Jones. And like you said, the travel, going back to the globe trotting, we're not just in Europe. We go all over the place in this film. And something really cool about the locations is this film spent a lot of time filming in the exact same places as the famous spaghetti westerns that came out of Italy. And so those desert, huge mountain ranges, very dry hills, and big valleys that we see in Sergio Leone films and many other spaghetti westerns, they actually the location for the big tank chase in this film. They filmed it in the exact same areas and in Spain, which is so fun that like so many places can double as other things. And I think that going to Petra in Jordan, I remember that was the first time I ever saw an image of that was in this film.
Temple of the Sun for the movie.
Yeah, and it was just like I was like watching this as a kid, just flabbergasted. Like I can't believe this. Like it's so ingenious. Now it's like a big tourist site, but making great use of locations all over the world to make this film huge, gigantic in scope, really meaningful and resonant with such a huge amount of culture and history within it.
And in 1989, this film was released, becoming the most successful of the Indiana Jones original trilogy, grossing $474 million at the global box office on a budget of $48 million. Directed, of course, by the GOAT, Steven Spielberg. Story done by George Lucas and Menno Miehes. Screenplay by Jeffrey Boehm, as well as a couple uncredited writers, which we'll get into in a little bit. IMDb, this is an 8.2 user rating. That puts it at number 119 on the all-time user rating list on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, The Last Crusade is an 84% critic score, 94% audience score. Letterboxd is, I didn't look up Letterboxd. Hold on. Letterboxd.
Better be. It's probably a 3.9 or something.
Last Crusade.
I'm guessing 3.9.
It's got to be over. It's got to be a 4. I'm calling it a 4.0. Last Crusade Letterboxd is a, sorry for the delay, 4.1, baby.
Nice.
People love this movie.
Good. I'm glad.
And then,
and also, it made a significant amount more than the other two.
Yeah.
Almost 500 million. The other ones were around 350 million each.
Yeah.
This must have had a banging trailer.
It had a teaser trailer, too, which they played before a couple of big movies. Quick synopsis of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Sorry. You look like you're about to like raid a tomb right now. You look like you're like modern Indiana Jones right now. I just gotta stop the show and say you're looking sharp.
You know, I had to
you're looking fresh
for the great end of the trilogy. I had to go Indiana Jones except contemporary.
You look like you're ready to walk a red carpet, but also raid a tomb if you have to.
It's a nice jacket, right?
Yeah, that's great. You look fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You look great as well.
Thank you.
Now, quick synopsis. The intrepid explorer Indiana Jones sets out to rescue his father, a medievalist who has vanished while searching for the Holy Grail. Following clues in the old man's notebook, Indy arrives in Venice, Italy, where he enlists the help of a beautiful academic. But they are not the only ones who are on the trail, and some sinister old enemies soon come out of the woodwork. Of course, Nazis. Who else?
Got them back. Damn Nazis.
Came out in 1989 to huge critical acclaim. This also won the Academy Award for Best Sound Effects Editing for Ben Burtt and his team. Was nominated for Best Original Score, Best Sound. And although Spielberg and Lucas intended this to be the end of the Indiana Jones movies, of course we know that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull happened in 2008, and then Dial of Destiny happened in 2023.
Do you remember the South Park spoof of Crystal Skull?
Yes, I do. Don't say the phrase.
I was saying.
Don't say the line.
Someone reminded me of it yesterday, and I was like, oh my God. Now, there's some really cool tidbits about Steven Spielberg. This is his favorite film in the franchise that he's made.
It's yours too, right?
This is my personal favorite. And I love Raiders. I just like this film has this really great whimsical quality to it. This great sense of fun. It's pure escapism, and I love the trials at the end. I love the third act of this film, and I really love the third act of the first film. But man, when they get to Petra, I'm always just like so locked in, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I love the tank chase. And I will say the tank chase is not as kinetic and exciting as the truck chase,
the caravan chase
in the original. However, they do some fucking crazy stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
It's all done for real. And just watching this, the editing, the cinematography, just being able to get the coverage necessary for that whole sequence, it's such an impressive sequence that they pulled off. Although it does lack the same kinetic, incredible, fast pace and unpredictable nature of the caravan in Raiders, which I would say is a superior set piece. This is still just on a different thing. It's a different thing in some ways, and it's just really exciting how they filmed this. But there are so many other great action set pieces in this film. And also, Steven Spielberg, he had to turn down 2 films that he was going to make in order to make Last Crusade. So he had to drop out of directing Big, starring Tom Hanks, and he had to drop out of directing Rain Man, starring Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. So he had been set up with those films for a while, and then this prevented him from doing those 2 films. That would have been interesting to see his takes on those. And also, he said he made this film for 2 specific reasons. The first one, Spielberg said, was to fill a 3-movie obligation he held with George Lucas, that he made with George Lucas. And then his second one was to atone for the criticism and reactions that he received for the previous installment, Temple of Doom.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been interesting to see a big and a Rain Man from Steven Spielberg to see what he could have done. But I think for me, Raiders is still my favorite, even after this 12th rewatch of Last Crusade. For me, I think I can scientifically prove that Raiders is better.
How are you going to do that?
Because what does Last Crusade do that Temple of Doom didn't do?
What's it do that Temple doesn't do?
Yeah. Overall,
I don't know.
It goes back to Raiders. It goes
Yes.
back to the formula,
Yes,
the
yeah. Oh,
feel,
yeah.
the nostalgia, the style.
The setup.
Exactly. So there had to be an original.
Yeah, you're saying it's only great because of the original.
I'm saying it's only great because of that.
That's
but
your
I'm saying-
scientific argument?
That's why. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Raiders is better scientifically because of that.
Because this wouldn't exist. It's just...
Exactly.
You're saying it jumped on the Raiders' back.
Well, and not that it wouldn't exist, but that it went back to the style of Raiders. It went back to what Raiders was, because Raiders, such an outlier in cinema, especially at the time. There's nothing really like it. That big in scope. When it comes to adventure movies, there were adventure movies, but to bring in that scale of filmmaking, that scale of stunt work, the camera work, the artistry, everything involved with a great story, the great leading man like that, never really been done quite like Spielberg did it in Lucas and in their idea. Well, not that scale.
No, I'm saying I'm agreeing with
Oh,
you.
I thought you...
What should I say?
And then
yeah.
Temple of Doom, scope is toned down, darker. Last Crusade, what do they do? What should we do? Let's go and make a movie like Raiders again, because Raiders is iconic.
Watching this today, we watched it today.
Sure did, 4 hours ago.
Because it has the great opening, which we can get to. I love that bit. But then once Harrison's involved, it's like, give me Indy at school. Give me the 10-minute exposition setting up this artifact. I want it. That's what you need. Like, I want the exposition dump.
It's like
I want
It's
that.
the same scenes, but
Exactly.
it's cool.
Give me the adventure.
That's what I'm saying.
And I mean, anyone who complains that it's redundant, especially with Crystal Skull, it's like, I mean, where else would people find him but at school?
It's the formula.
Yeah, I mean, he's a full-time teacher.
Yeah, it's
Professor.
true, but also I like the ideas that they were playing around with before they went with The Last Crusade, because this movie went through so many script developments, so many rewrites. Originally, and we talked about this with Temple of Doom, George Lucas wanted to go haunted house. He wanted to do a haunted house horror movie almost, basically, like a mystery movie. But obviously, Spielberg, coming off Poltergeist, is like, I don't want to do that. I just did a horror movie. I want to do something different. And then they sort of started playing around with different kinds of ideas. And
So what would you think of Indiana Haunted House? What would you think of that?
Indiana Haunted House could be cool, but I would only really buy that if the haunted house led to, I don't know, catacombs underneath the ground that led to an intricate, large system of another environment. Because
Yeah.
Indy in a small environment doesn't really work for me.
Me
I don't
either.
think. I think Indy has to be globetrotting, a massive, expansive environment, huge things with history. I think if they did a haunted house, it would have to be like the Vatican, somewhere huge.
Me, big fucking house.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea. I mean, I know it's George Lucas, but I'm not a fan of him being in a haunted house story at all. No,
yeah.
I don't like it.
And so they wanted to do the Holy Grail, but really just as an opening, as the opening artifact,
Oh, okay.
sort of, because every Indian movie has that opening. In this, it's the prequel, the origin story of Indiana Jones, basically. They wanted to have the Grail be the opening bit in the opening section of the movie, with it being a Christian artifact that's in Africa would be the main storyline, getting that artifact. And then it was later on in 1984, George Lucas completed an 8-page treatment on a story that they were working with called Indiana Jones and the Monkey King, which he soon followed up with an 11-page outline. It saw Indiana Jones battling a ghost in Scotland before finding the Fountain of Youth in Africa. Could have been pretty cool.
I'm down for that.
Could have been pretty cool.
Down for that.
Now, Chris Columbus, who had previously done Gremlins, The Goonies, and Young Sherlock Holmes for writing, obviously produced all by Steven Spielberg, was hired to write that script of Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. And May 3rd, 1985, he changed the main plot device to the Garden of Immortal Peaches, which I think might be a real place.
I
I'm
would
guessing.
love to read that screenplay.
And that would open in 1937 with Indy battling the murderous ghost of Baron Seamus Seagrove III in Scotland. So the opening would be a haunted house, and then it'd be the Garden of Immortal Peaches as the main story plots. And basically that would involve Nazis, it'd involve a couple other countries, but overall a resurrected Monkey King would be sort of a main character or main sort of villain in the movie.
And the Fountain of Youth being the big supernatural element.
Basically, yeah.
I like that.
But then they wrote the script and they weren't sold. They were dissatisfied for it. And so Chris Columbus basically was removed from the project after doing another work on the script.
He did all right.
Yeah, and then
He did fine for himself.
it was actually leaked in 1997 if you ever want to read it.
Oh, I would love to read that.
It was like the second or third draft of Monkey King written by Chris Columbus. If anyone wants to read it, it was leaked online. Now, after that, they decided George Lucas convinced Steven Spielberg. George Lucas was the one that wanted the Holy Grail. He's like, I want the Holy Grail. Just let me do it. Like, trust me, Steve. I can figure this out.
Let me have it, man.
For a main storyline.
You're so disagreeable, Steve.
And then Spielberg was convinced that, all right, we'll do that, but then we'll also do a father-son relationship because I want to explore Indiana Jones' past. And if we bring in a father-son relationship, that can be a great metaphor for Indiana Jones going after the Holy Grail, because to Indy, the Holy Grail is his father. Whereas and also the Holy Grail in this movie is the book, the diary, is essentially as big or the Ark of the Covenant, you could say in a lot of ways. But to Indy, the Holy Grail is just a metaphor for his relationship with his father. That's why I think the story works so well with the character development in this movie. And then they brought on Menno Meyjes to work on this new version of the screenplay, who had just written The Color Purple and Empire of the Sun for Spielberg, both movies that he directed. And he did a great job with this new script. However, they brought on another screenwriter to do another draft of the script, which basically he got the main credit for screenplay. This is Jeffrey Boehm. He did the next rewrites. And so he's the one that added so much of the Grail and got the full credit on the screenplay for Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. And then a third writer came in to rewrite. Now, this is an uncredited writer, really, that you don't see on any credits.
Yeah.
And this is, hold on, here we go. Tom Stoppard, Sir Tom Stoppard. He came in after Jeffrey Boehm did his version. He was paid $120,000 at the time to rewrite dialogue, specifically the lines for Henry and Henry Indiana exchanges. After the movie's release and subsequent success, he must have signed a deal because he was paid another $1 million as a bonus for his work on rewriting the last script. And
that's probably because, sorry to interrupt, I saw an interview with Spielberg. He said he basically wrote all the dialogue.
I was getting to that. In The Last Crusade, an oral history, an article published in Empire magazine in 2006, Spielberg said that the junior and senior conversations, to quote him, it was an emotional story, but I didn't want to get sentimental. Their disconnection from each other was the basis for a lot of comedy, and it gave Tom Stoppard, who was uncredited, a lot to write. Tom is pretty much responsible for every line of dialogue between the two of them.
$1 million.
It's a pretty good bonus.
Not bad.
So several writers, several rewrites, several story ideas until the Holy Grail was thrust in as the main artifact of the movie, and then the opening was changed to a prequel origin of Indiana Jones, basically as a Boy Scout, Cub Scouts going on an adventure trying to get an artifact to be put in a museum.
I feel like writing by committee rarely works this well.
Gladiator is another example where it's kind of like this.
Imagine if novels were like that. If people just kept rewriting them, and then the publisher hired another writer to rewrite that. And
they basically do that. That's what publishing's like today, man.
Yeah,
they do rewrite everything.
Editors, I guess. But it's wild that this many writers were involved in this screenplay. Ended up really, really good and very strong. Yeah. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, I mean, Gladiator, again, when we did our Gladiator episode a couple months ago, we talked about how that went through 4 major big screenplay rewrites. And then the last person to come in and clean up dialogue really adds so much of the emotionality to it.
I think that having a crew and basically a whole team that have done this multiple times helps with that, because Harrison Ford said on the behind-the-scenes documentary that pretty much everyone involved in the other 2 films came back for this film, so it was all the same people. And what was really interesting is going back to the tank sequence, there was no tank sequence written. All that they had was George Lucas wanted a tank in the film. They didn't know, it wasn't in the screenplay. They didn't know where they would put it. but he wanted a tank in the film. And so Spielberg came up with the entire sequence. It was never written in the screenplay. And this is in the behind the scenes documentary. He said he didn't even write it out. He just storyboarded the entire sequence. And he came up with this big storyboard, and that's how he essentially wrote that scene. So the whole tank, horse, and edge of the cliff, fighting Nazis, that wasn't written in the script. It was storyboard written by Spielberg. So that it's such a film that, going back to Gladiator, that probably evolved during production. And they also said that Sean Connery added huge amount of elements and ideas to his character, which Harrison Ford said that the original version of Henry Jones Sr. was two-dimensional, boring, and basically Yoda, and was only giving advice to Harrison and acting like an old wise man. And when Sean Connery came on board, I think he brought a lot of great eccentricities to the character, a lot of personality, and so much great humor. It's a testament to his acting that's the guy who's James Bond. And it was obviously perfectly cast because they always envisioned this as like their version of a Bond film. And so getting James Bond as Indy and his dad was great, but I think that he added so many great layers to the role of Henry Jones Sr. that helps this film so much.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
His line delivery is legendary. But I mean, he's an incredible actor. In addition to the take sequence, there's another sequence that was not in the screenplay for chases. Do you know which one?
Is it an action scene?
Yeah.
It's not in the screenplay originally?
No.
Action sequence. I'm gonna guess the fighter jets.
Nope.
I'm gonna guess.
You already guessed.
Okay.
The motorcycle chase.
Oh.
Where Henry and Henry Jr. are on the double motorcycle being chased by the Nazis, right? That was not in the script. So what happened was they finished filming, and they had an assembly cut, basically. And Steven Spielberg and his editor, they edited the movie, they laid it out, and they watched it a couple times. And Spielberg and the editor realized it doesn't have enough action. We need more action because that's what the audience is expecting. This is the third film in the franchise. We're coming off Temple of Doom, which was very action-heavy, especially the mine cart sequence. Just for like 30 minutes, that movie's nonstop.
Lots of fighting.
And Raiders has so much great action as well. But this movie was lacking in that after they watched the assembly cut. So they went and did this entire chase sequence, and it came out really great. So that was not originally part of the script, this whole motorcycle chase.
You know where they filmed that?
They filmed it in London? No. I have no idea.
So in the story, they're in Germany, right?
Yeah.
They filmed the motorcycle chase in the Bay Area of California.
Oh my God, you're right. It was California. That's
Isn't
right.
that crazy?
That's insane.
They just throw up some signs, and then you have the period-accurate vehicles, and you believe it.
I mean, that's where Skywalker Ranch is in the Bay Area.
Yeah, they probably shot it right over there.
Yeah, probably not far away.
Yeah, probably right over there. Isn't that wild?
It's pretty
And that
crazy.
makes sense for it being reshoots.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't during production.
And it adds 10 minutes of great action and a lot of great humor.
Yeah. You know what that chase reminded me of the Dark Knight chase, the Bat Pod chase, because Spielberg, because they're not driving that fast, but he and his DP wisely know how to film it so it feels more energetic with, say they're driving probably 20, 25 miles per hour, if that. Have the vehicles, have like a motorcycle start behind the camera, and then it passes, and that makes it feel like it's going faster. Or you push the camera towards the vehicles and let them pass, and that makes it feel like they're going 65 miles per hour. So,
sure.
And I think that if Nolan's chase felt reminiscent of this motorcycle chase, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that. It also felt like a Star Wars chase.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Definitely a Star Wars
The
chase.
comedic beats,
Yeah.
and just the pacing of the chase felt like that. It felt like the speeder race in terms of the pacing.
But that makes sense. I mean, because if you don't have that motorcycle chase, it's really a long time between where the boat sequence and then the next action sequence is the fighter jets. That's a lot of story.
Yeah, with no action.
That's a long.
Here, like little action bits here and there, like in the castle.
But like an action sequence
for Indy, you need
that's like 40 minutes.
I feel like Indy needs 3 big chases in a movie.
Yeah, like Mission Impossible kind of trajectory.
Yeah.
You need 3 big things, and then also you need 3 big action sequences, and then like 3 big drama character moments, story moments.
And this movie just opens with one of the best, I think, opening sequences ever in a movie with young Indiana, first of all, it opens up like a John Ford Western from the 60s. Beautiful landscape shots, Spielberg making a Western Western chops.
This does feel like a Western, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just wide shots with credits and horses.
Yeah.
And he's on his Boy Scout trip, and he discovers a cave where these grave diggers or looters find an old medallion, an old cross from a conquistador that was given to somebody else, and it's been lost to history. And River Phoenix is just really remarkable in this film, was clearly going to be the biggest star of his generation.
Oh, my God.
If he didn't pass away at such a young age. And Harrison Ford actually nominated River Phoenix for this role to play him as a teenager because he had just worked with him previously in The Mosquito Coast in 1986. He played his son in that film. And Harrison, when they were trying to figure out who to cast as young Indiana Jones, basically went to Lucas and the casting director and Spielberg and was like, all right, so the youngest, like the person who I think should play me is this kid River Phoenix. I just did a movie with him. Of all young actors I know, he's the one that looks most like me when I was that age. And so that's one of the reasons, as well as being profoundly talented.
Yeah, I mean, he passed away at 23. He would have had, I mean, just a gargantuan career. It's unbelievable. And he was so talented. He had already been nominated for an Oscar the year before he died. So he's just immensely talented.
I mean, Stand By Me is like
Yeah.
a 12-year-old. Just
Yeah.
really incredible. And also, what I love about River's performance as young Indiana, he's not doing an Indiana Jones impression because Indiana Jones doesn't exist yet. He's doing a Harrison Ford impression. And he's getting those minute things that Harrison does, whether it's drawing out specific words and phrases, specific body movements and way he turns his neck, but also the tone, the things that he cares about. It's all there, and I think he does a terrific job.
What's so great about the opening, though, is it misleads the audience your first time watching it.
It misleads?
Yeah,
Okay.
it misleads the audience because they purposely garb up one of the grave robbers to basically something Indy would wear. You have the leather jacket, you have the casual wear, and then you have Indy's hat. And that actor, he's got a pretty similar jawline to Harrison Ford. And they tease it. You think that it's just two random Boy Scouts who find these grave robbers. You don't know this is Indiana Jones, this kid right here. You, as an audience watching this for the first time, think that Indiana Jones is in the cave. He's that guy leading the group. And then...
What do you mean? What? What are you talking about?
Talk about the guy.
They say Indiana multiple times before they get there.
Hold on, I'm getting there. They purposely mislead the audience. They don't show that guy's face.
I know.
And then when they finally they hide him purposefully. He's the only guy whose face you don't see. He's purposely dressed like that to make the audience think it's Indiana, because we don't know this is a prequel opening yet. And so there's a camera shot when they find the crucifix. And he looks at it, he lifts it up. The camera does a great push in and lifts up, and it reveals the guy's face. It's not Indy. And then the kid says, Indiana, Indiana. Then we know the other kid's actually the kid's Indiana.
I thought they said Indiana earlier.
Nope. The first time he says Indiana is after this guy's face is revealed.
But don't they do a year reveal? They do a year like it's like 1912 or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just...
I never, ever picked up on that.
You never thought that?
No, because it says it's like 1910.
So
he would be a kid.
No, but I know. But they purposely. Why would they hide his face?
Because they're having fun. They're homaging
exactly.
the first movie.
Yeah, they're misleading the audience.
I don't think you're misleading the audience when you tell them it's the year 22 years before the first film.
I guess.
I think that you're reading too much into that. That's why I was confused about when you said mislead. I think the movie opens it up saying that this is young Indiana Jones real well. Like it's like 1910 or whatever year it is.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I completely disagree. I think they purposely had fun with the audience.
They are having fun with the audience
Yeah.
in terms of like, let's reference the first film and let's reference where Indy got his aesthetic, his look, because obviously the cross-cut to him, wearing the same exact outfit when he's an adult. But for me, when I watch the movie, it says the year and I immediately know it's young Indiana.
All right. I'm just saying, I think that they purposely did it to have fun with the audience, and they purposely made this guy feel and look in his presence and everything, the wardrobe, feel like Indiana.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because that's where Indy bases everything off of. This is such a pivotal 3 hours of his entire life. It forms so many of his behaviors. Like we said, it forms his fear of snakes, his lion taming whip, his bull whip. Where does he get that from? So many things come from this. The scar, like I said, but also the look, the aesthetic. This guy beat him. Just because you lost doesn't mean you have to like it. And now he sort of models his whole life off of this guy, except he's not going to go the route of being funded and working for evil men who are just out for power and glory and wealth. He's going to do it on his own terms. But this guy had a mark on him.
He was obsessed with this guy. He mirrored his entire appearance after this guy.
No, I love the opening though. It's so fun. I love the
incredible stunt work.
I love John Williams. Obviously, creates so many of the similar themes from the original too, but these whimsical themes he does in this film are so fun, especially these opening sequences. Like, it's so goddamn fun. It makes it feel more youthful, and mischievous as a character. If it's like a character theme versus Indy's triumphant Raiders March, whereas this, it's like a kid playing around. And I think it adds so much to the character in the sequence. The train sequence is absolutely phenomenal. Really filming on a train.
This is incredible stunt work. I can't
It
believe
is.
this.
So basically what they had to do is they had little railings and handles all over these train carts and train compartments to be able to do this. And like I said, this takes place in 1912. And like when you're filming on top of a train like this, you can't stop it because then you're going to miss your spots. The camera's going to miss its spots. You only have so much track for your camera dolly and stuff like that. So they had to keep basically doing it over and over again. And all kinds of little tricks were used to shoot this film. In addition to doing interiors in Universal Studios Hollywood, the exteriors they did. The close-up of the rhinoceros, for example, lots of fun, was foam and fiberglass, an animatronic made in London. When Spielberg decided he wanted it to move, the prop was sent to John Carl Buechler in Los Angeles, who resculpted it after 3 days to blink. It still looks really fake, but it's fun. But it snorts, it snarls, and it even wiggles its ears. The giraffes were also recreated in London. And because steam locomotives are extremely loud, the crew would respond to the first assistant director's radio directions by making the giraffes nod or shake their heads in question. Also, for the villains' cars in this opening sequence, they selected a 1914 Ford Model T, a 1919 Ford Model T truck, and a 1960 Saxon Model 14 to fit in with a Ford Pinto V6 engine to make the cars even dustier and everything like that. But a lot went into this opening set piece, using a real train, real stunt people. River looks like he did a lot of his own stunts as well in this movie, and Harrison did so many stunts in this movie that Vic Armstrong had to at some point be like, bro, I gotta get in there, bro.
I love the giraffes.
The giraffes are a lot of
how
fun.
they nod. I gotta fact check you
On
with
what?
our little debate. They never give a date.
It says 1912, I thought.
Doesn't say any date.
Are you watching the movie right now?
I'm watching it. There's no date.
I thought
It's-
that it said 1912.
So I still stand by. I think they were misleading the audience on purpose, and just being like, "Oh, everyone thinks this is gonna be Indy, but it's not. It's the kid."
Yeah, I'm just saying that I never thought that was going to be Indiana Jones. I always thought it was the kid. Anyways.
Sorry, I just had to check.
No, I'm glad you
Yeah.
fact checked me because I couldn't remember whether or not it said like 1912 or 10 or whatever it was.
It actually says Anthony was right.
feels like it.
I love the animals. So here's the thing. I think that this opening is perfect. We're so inundated with origin stories now. But even so, this one still works better than any of them because nowadays it takes the entire movie for this to happen. Nowadays, a film spends 2 hours getting an origin. But this film's perfect because it's what, 11-minute sequence, if that?
Something like that.
And it's just after 11
Well,
minutes.
the action part, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a long opening.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
a
like.
pretty
Yeah.
long opening. After that, like we have our fully fledged hero in his final form. Final form.
His
He's fighting for
Transformers.
him. But like so many movies now, the obsession with the origins, and it takes 2 hours to get to the origin. I'm just so tired of seeing the lengthy process to get to the character finally becoming what they're supposed to be. This is another great example of like this could be an alternative. If a studio has a big IP and they feel the need to still do the origin, this is an example of how you could do it and make it fun and make it 10 minutes. Like this is another blueprint. If they really feel like we need to do the origin, make it 10 minutes. Make it like something like this. Then you can have the whole movie where you have the character where you have Craven and he's Craven at 10 minutes into the movie, and then it's a Craven movie, not the Rise of Craven movie. So this is another example of like how to follow the structure and blueprint that Lucas and Spielberg made.
Yeah, I mean, It's so interesting to not look to the great movies of the past and not follow what they do and just keep doing the same thing that's losing you viewers, putting distaste in people's mouth, becoming so predictable. And then you watch the trailer and you already know you're not going to see final form until the end of the movie.
Final form.
And then finally the character's the character with 3 minutes left. And it's like, cool, man. We saw a great long origin story, which we could have done in 10 minutes or just not do at all. It works really well with Last Crusade because we got the great first movie where Indy's fully formed. And then, like I said, those little origins of not being afraid of snakes, but then falls into a vat of snakes and becomes terrified of them. Mm-hmm. And gets the bullwhip, gets the scar on his face, gets the hat, gets the look, the aesthetic. It all comes out, and it's like 7 minutes of getting all of that, which is a lot of fun. And it works so well. And then to cross-cut it to the present-day Indiana Jones getting punched in the face.
It's the perfect opening for him.
After the guy puts the hat on his head, just because you lost doesn't mean you have to like it. Getting clobbered in the face after the little smirk. It's fantastic.
But it also shows it's the perfect opening for Harrison Ford because smile, audience is like, oh, there he is, boom, in the face. But then the bad guy shakes his hand in pain. Like, Indy's so tough, just punching him hurts the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's just a really perfect opening shot for the Harrison Ford introduction.
I think so too. And you got to get the smiling Harrison Ford. So this movie comes out, filmed in 1988, comes out in 1989. The original is filmed in 1980. You can tell Harrison's getting a little up there. But even though he's getting older in age, he seems more capable of the stunts in this movie. It seems like he did more of his own stunts, which he did do. And, a lot of training comes with that, and clearly he recovered really well from that back injury. But he's doing a lot of stuff in this movie. He's doing a lot more horse riding, it feels like, when it comes to the larger stunts with the horses. And I think it adds so much to the character, to the performance, to the movie, and also is probably really inspirational for up-and-coming stars and people like Tom Cruise, probably like, Harrison seems to be doing a lot more of his own stunts. I should probably get into doing more of my own stunts. It makes me a big action star because Harrison... he was the biggest action star alive until Tom Cruise came along, you could argue.
Yeah, he was. That's a great point.
Even though Steve McQueen was becoming that and was that for a while, he passed away in his 50s, so passed away at a pretty young age for a movie star. But Harrison, when you chalk up the Indiana Jones movies, Star Wars movies, Jack Ryan movies, The Fugitive, he's the action guy for a long time, doing a lot of stunts as well. And I think that I would guess and assume that people like Tom Cruise took a lot of influence from that.
I would say, do you think maybe he spent more time because of how bad his injury was last time on Temple of Doom? He possibly spent more time prepping his body, preparing himself for stunt work?
If I was him, I'd be preparing myself. If you already know in a couple of years we're going to do another movie,
yeah,
I'm doing horse training 4 times a week for like a year straight. You know what I mean?
And because with all the action scenes, they shoot so much. There's so much editing, but a lot of the shots are long shots. They could be like 10, 20-second shots, just like him riding up to a tank or on the boats in Venice. And you can see it really is Harrison. Like the great shot of the wide of the in the canal of the boat being torn to pieces by the propeller. Harrison's in the shot.
He fucking built
every time. And also, like in the behind the scenes doc, there's so many shots of Harrison riding the horse and just cruising and jumping around and interacting with the tanks and really hanging from the side of the tanks the whole time. And like you said, Vic Armstrong joked that he's like, let me get some playing time. Let me do my job just once. There were definitely a couple of things. I think that the jumping from horseback onto tank was definitely Vic Armstrong.
Yeah, that's not Harrison.
No way that's Harrison
No
Ford.
fucking way.
That's crazy to do. Absolutely bonkers. Like that. I think that was the most impressive stunt of the film, honestly. I was just blown away by that. It also looked like, yes, they had some great stunt people and doubles for the young Indy, but it looked like River Phoenix did a lot of stuff on the train.
Yeah,
and a good amount of riding. How do you rate his mount? He has a great
fucking
mount.
Great.
Yeah, good mount
for being a kid. Like
Yeah.
and he's short, so not short, but it's not easy when you're that shorter. You're obviously lighter, more flexible.
Yeah. But also the train, like the train's moving. That's
awesome.
Even though it's not going 40, it's going 10 miles per hour, but that's still dangerous.
Yeah, sure.
And he might have been rigged in with a wire the whole time.
I doubt it.
He's interacting with that set, going
It's
up and
the
down,
80s,
climbing.
This is the 80s, dude. They're
Well, it's really him a lot of the time.
yeah.
I think they did a great job with River Phoenix's sequences as well. But yeah, Harrison, he's up. You can see he's getting a little bit older, but he is fit.
Aging like fine wine.
Yeah, he is. He's really fit in this, and his shirt's off in the documentary if you want to check it out. But he looks like he put on a little bit more muscle than he had previously in the other films. Like definitely a lot more muscle.
And you can tell other areas where he's doing his own stunts more often, specifically the tank chase after Indy puts the rock inside the giant gun, the rail gun, and it explodes, and he's hanging on it later on. He's hanging on the edge of the gun, the barrel, and they turn the tank against the wall, and the barrel of the gun while he's hanging on it is scraping against the wall, right, the rock wall, and just soot, rocks pouring all over him. Harrison did the whole thing. They really did that. They found an 8-foot-high wall of dried mud. And they really drove along that. Harrison's really strapped to the barrel the whole time, no stunt double at all. And above him, on top of that 8-foot wall of mud, crew members are just dumping rocks and clay and sand all over him. And that's all Harrison. And you can tell. It looks great.
There's a shot of him on the dock of he was testing the tread of the tank tire against his face as it was rolling, and it was moving, and then he placed his face and jaw and cheeks against it, and it was like bumping against his face. Then he looks up and he nods. He's like, "Yep, it's good. So it's fine."
That wasn't the real tank. So they actually built two tanks for this. So they wanted to rent a real tank, but they went to check them out. The special effects mechanical supervisor George Gibbs was basically like, "These are nice, but I'm going to build one myself." And they ended up building two. He built one out of steel, which is majority for, wide shots, full tank shots, stuff like that was actually done. They also were able to customize the interior to fit more people in, better for filming, all that kinds of stuff. But then when they were doing close-ups, medium shots, they built another one out of aluminum, or as you say in the UK, aluminium. Aluminium. This other aluminium tank was done for the mediums and the close-ups when you were on top of the tank with the camera. And, for example, when Harrison's putting his face on that tread, it's not real steel, so it's safe to put your face on and test it out. So that was the aluminum one.
It was a tow tank.
Yeah.
So they towed that.
Yeah, they literally towed that against with a truck.
Yeah, so they towed that and were able to grip all the cameras onto that. So, but it looks great. But I mean, still, there's no way doesn't tickle your cheeks.
I wonder if it's probably might have been maybe rubber. The
something
trail.
like that.
Yeah.
It must have been something like that. But what's so? I mean, I know these scenes looks crazy, but like you said, very controlled. The boat chase in Venice, also very controlled. Yes, there's some crazy open water chases. It looks fantastic. There's great shots of Harrison really jumping into the back of the boat to wrestle a guy. Great stuff. But the most dangerous looking bit is the propeller. And the ship going into the propeller. And it's just tearing apart the ship. It looks great. This was actually, I mean, yes, it's dangerous, but it was highly controlled. So they actually built that propeller for the scene. There was just like a wall of a ship that they rigged over there, and then they built basically a fake metal propeller for the scene.
No, it's a real metal propeller.
Okay, real metal. Yeah, sorry.
It's not fake at all.
It's not moving the boat though. They built that propeller for the scene.
Yeah,
is what I mean. And then underneath the water, they had a rig connected to the boats that they would control, basically pulling the boats towards the propeller. And the propeller would really tear apart the ships. I doubt it was really hard metal. I mean, wood. I'm sure those ships were made out of some kind of softer wood material, maybe something similar to like an IKEA cabinet, whatever that material is. But I don't know, something.
Looks like wood to me.
Could be something softer. And so they were able to control completely. The boat wasn't going anywhere. They were in complete control of the boat, and we're basically controlling how slowly or fast it moved towards the propeller. And so because of that, they were able to get these great shots of Harrison with the other stunt actor in the frame, fighting with the propeller, really tearing apart the boat. And they get pretty close. They get pretty darn close. And then he uses a nice long lens for the two shots, the reverse and the solo on Indy to mix with the wide. And those long lenses, especially when the propeller's in between the characters and us, makes it feel like they're really close to the propeller. But I think incredible rigging and stunt coordination in this film. I mean, the indie films are so synonymous with stunt work. And spectacle that, I mean, became, the live indie stunt work shows at Disney parks all around the world because of the film. And like you said, Universal, right? Because of the film, the film franchise's affinity and execution of these huge set pieces. And so I think that when they, like you said, when they realized we needed more action, it's because that's what audiences want when they go to an Indiana Jones film. They want that gigantic action. They want big set pieces. They want exotic locales. They want to travel the world. They want to see things that they'll never be able to see at home. And so I think doing this crazy boat chase in Venice is fucking awesome. It's so cool, and they did an incredible job.
And the boat they built much longer than an average boat would be of that model.
Gotcha.
So they had more boat to chew up.
Yeah.
But
Makes
because,
sense.
like you said, the long lens crushing the depth of field feels like you're close, and it doesn't feel like the boat's stretched out. So it's actually really clever, like a bit of a forced perspective there.
Yeah.
But man, it looks so freaking good. It really, really does. And more great practical filmmaking comes in with the 3 trials. The 3 trials are epic. And it's such an exciting part of the film. The 3 trials, which we'll talk in more detail when we go over the story and everything. We have the path of God, the word of God, and the breath of God. And great practical filmmaking with building this big temple, this interior, this massive set, which, we talked about Temple of Doom. That temple was just an extraordinary interior set. Massive, massive. And that big fire moat in the middle was awesome. And then this is another great interior set. Obviously, they didn't build this in Jordan.
They didn't carve it.
They didn't carve it in there.
It's not that big inside of there.
But what I like about this set before they start the trials is it's massive, but also feels compact at the same time, like a carved out cavern would.
Yeah.
Rather than massive walls and so wide, it's going more for height, and then you have lots of tight walls and everything like that. And I think that makes it really special and makes it feel more realistic versus like, let's make a massive, enormous set, keep it a little tighter, keep it a little compact with having that huge scope. But also, when they do the ground cracking, they build all of the mechanical requirements to basically make it it's like a carnival ride. Just like separate the flooring, going here and there. And it looks incredible because it's real, but it's so reminiscent if you've ever been on, the Universal tour rides at one of the theme parks and you go on the underground tunnel ride, remember, and the floor starts to crack and break.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as that, basically. And it's fun to see that in real life because that's what it's like on set. But on camera, it just looks so good once you fill it in with smoke. It looks incredible.
A little shake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this huge set. They took 6 weeks to build on a soundstage using it was supported by 80 feet of hydraulics, and there's 5 separate gimbals underneath the set to move those huge chunks of the ground in different directions. And then when it opens up in the crack, there's actually crew members underneath the hydraulics, underneath the cracks, and that's when the stunt actors were able to interact with the changing of the height and altitude of these pieces, these chunks of stone. It looks great, and even on set and behind the scenes video, it looks really good. But it's just a remarkable piece of filmmaking in stunt work. I really love that sequence. I think it's great.
And the villain, Donovan's death, was groundbreaking for digital filmmaking. It's the first all digital composite scene in a movie. Now, Donovan's death happens when he drinks the wrong water from the wrong cup because his hubris and arrogance gets to him. He doesn't understand Jesus' cup wouldn't be the most beautiful, elegant, valuable cup there. It'd be the cup of a carpenter. Mm-hmm. When you choose wisely, you understand it's the least valuable cup there because that's all he was a carpenter. And Spielberg wanted Donovan's death to be shown in one shot. So it wouldn't look like another actor having makeup in between takes. What they did was they put inflatable pads that were applied to Julian Glover's forehead and cheeks, and that made his eyes seem to recede during the character's initial decomposition, as well as a mechanical wig that grew his hair as he's aging and dying. And then the shot of Donovan's death, like I said, first all-digital composite scene, was created over 3 months by morphing together 3 puppets of Donovan created by Stephen Dupuis in separate stages of decay, a technique ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, mastered on Willow in 1988, the year before. A 4th puppet was used for the decaying clothes because the puppet's torso mechanics had been exposed. Complications, however, arose because Alison Duties, who plays the female lead in the film, the
Elsa?
Yeah, Elsa, the Eskimo father-son relationship here. The double had not been filmed for the scene's latter two elements, so the background of hair from the first shot had to be used throughout with other faces mapped over it. So if you watch closely, you can see that kind of fix. Mm-hmm. And then Donovan's skeleton was hung on wires like a marionette. It required several takes to film it crashing against the wall because not all the pieces released on impact.
You know, it looks better than most CGI.
Looks great.
Because they're using practical elements and using digital effects to blend them together. Like you said, the three puppets, I didn't know it was puppets.
And you did 3 months of work, too.
Yeah, there's a tangibility to the images that you just can't get with CGI. The way light interacts with the surfaces. And I thought from my research, I didn't do as good research as you. I thought it was like a completely created digital effect. But the fact that they digitally blended these practical elements together, I think is why it still looks so good and still holds up.
It took 3 fucking months to do.
I mean, no, that's actually, they spent longer on effects now. You remember Moon Knight? Okay, listen to this. It's crazy. So Moon Knight, there's that shot in the bathroom mirror, and it's like the mirror's reflecting to infinity. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's the first reveal of him talking to the Moon Knight personality. There's one visual effects team was hired for that one shot. They spent over a year working on it. On one shot.
Maybe they were just like, yeah, I swear we'll get it done. They're just trying to figure out how to do it. They make a promise that they have to figure out how to do it.
It's crazy to work on that one shot for a year. Isn't that wild? I was doing research, obviously, and looking at plenty of YouTube videos, and I saw a couple of YouTube videos, and they were saying it's debated that Jesus Christ even had a cup, because I was like, what? What?
You never drank from a cup?
Yeah. Well, during the Last Supper.
Okay.
Because Leonardo da Vinci's painting doesn't have a goblet. It's like, dude,
he wasn't alive.
He wasn't there.
It's not like he was like, hold on, Jesus, hold still,
the pose.
hold still.
Where's the goblet, guys? Where's the goblet?
You're just not drinking? What are you, pregnant? Like, come on.
I was like, what are you talking about, guys? They were like, it's not exactly 100% certain he had a cup during the Last Supper. I'm like, guys, literally, we drink from a cup of wine in church because of that.
He's eating supper. He probably had a cup.
That's breaking bread and drinking wine. What do you think they drank the wine from? The blood of Christ, the body of Christ. Like, what the fuck? I was like, do you guys even know anything? I thought that was, I just had to say it. I found it to be ridiculous. I was like, because one painting didn't have a goblet? Okay, that makes it a fact.
It's funny because they're acting like Da Vinci was there.
Yeah. 1,000 years later. I got a kick out of that.
It's effing funny.
Can we talk about the library scene and the glaring inconsistencies in the set?
I would love to, but how about we run to our intermission?
Let's ride horses to our intermission.
And then we'll get back, because I'm curious what you're going to talk about, because I might be understanding what I might be picking up what you're putting down. Might be picking it up. Because there's a lot of beats where you're like, why does that happen there, but it doesn't happen here?
A lot of inconsistencies.
Yeah, but
you never notice it.
I know, but then when you're analyzing, you're like,
when you watch it on YouTube and see it broken down, it's like, oh my God.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. All right, but before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast in this trying time now that TikTok might get banned is to become a member of our Patreon at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. We've been getting so many new patrons the last couple of weeks. We're so ecstatic. You know, Patreon is the reason why we can do the show full time. It literally pays the rent for Anthony and I at our house in Los Angeles. It pays for Juno's Meow Mix. So without you, Juno would go hungry.
I'd like to shout out our new patrons this
go
week.
for it. Let's hear them.
So we have Cole, Xenia, James, Dominic, Dezani, and Mason.
Everyone, thank you so much for signing up. Past, present, future patrons.
Sam and Rich, too.
Salmon. Thank you.
Sam and Rich.
Oh, they said salmon. Like, first name Salmon.
Sam and Rich. Salmon Rich.
We have 5 different tiers of membership. Whatever works for your budget is best for you. Go for that tier. But for as little as signing up for an entire year, you can get the Patreon membership for $10 for 1 year. Every tier has different perks, like access to our Discord, access to weekly bonus episodes, access to the ad-free version of every single episode, plus more and more things as you go up the tier list. Thank you to all of our patrons, past, present, and future. Go to patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Another great way to support the show in this trying time of TikTok almost being deleted from our lives.
Such a trying time.
It is a trying time. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify. They're so helpful for us getting discovered by new people. A lot of podcast discovery comes down to, if I'm going to listen to this show, how many reviews do they have? How many ratings do they have? That justifies whether or not someone's going to listen to you big time. It adds reputability. It adds so much depth to what our show is when they read our written reviews on Apple Podcasts, which I'll get to one in just a minute because we read one out every single episode. So go to Apple and leave your written review today. Subscribing on YouTube, also hugely beneficial. We're almost at 5,000 subs. Can you believe it? Absolutely insane.
Wait, 50,000.
We're almost at 50,000.
Jesus.
5,000 is not
I was
that
like,
much.
wait a second. Did he say YouTube?
He's like, man, we're going down. We're losing a lot of
only
subs.
at 5. Did we lost 45,000 subs?
What are we doing? We're almost at 50,000. We're almost at 50,000, which is kind of a big deal to us. But
took a while.
Go to YouTube, subscribe there. Follow us everywhere. And the final great way to support the show, just share us. Word of mouth is the best way for a podcast to grow organically. We're all about that USDA grass-fed organic stuff. No pesticides. Share us with your family and friends. Anyone you know who loves Indiana Jones, who loves movies, TV, send them an episode, send them a post, send them anything.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 at movieposters.com. Get yourself 10% off your order immediately. They have a huge selection of pretty much every film and TV imaginable in their poster library, as well as all sorts of sizes, framing, and even backlighting for your poster needs. So you can get some really cool backlit posters like a movie theater. They have all of the indie posters, alternates, originals, collectors, items, lobby cards, whatever you can imagine as an indie fan. They got you covered. They have posters from your favorite modern Hollywood blockbuster to your favorite classic film, international features, original movie poster prints, collector's items. As a movie fan, there's no better place to go for your poster needs than at movieposters.com. You know the promo code. I say it all the time. It's Raiders10. And guess what? It gets you 10% off your order.
Today.
Believe it or not. Hey, it's my ad.
Sorry. Continue, please.
Today. I'm done.
All right. Shall we get into our intermission and begin with, what's it called again? Cinephile, the fun card game that we like to play on this show.
Super fun card game.
All right, so what happens is Anthony picks a card of an actor from the past or present, and we have to go back and forth naming movies that actor or actress is in until someone cannot name any more movies. It's a lot harder than it sounds, trust me.
Who is it?
Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's going to be a tough one.
No?
I don't know that many Jennifer Jason Leigh movies.
Okay.
Can we do someone else?
Of course we can.
Thanks.
Oh, I dropped it.
You dropped
Who is it?
Frances McDormand. I think that's one we could do.
Let's do it.
All right. So I'll go first.
You can't say Blood Simple.
Fargo.
Great one. Just all the Coen Brothers films. You said Fargo?
Yeah.
3 Billboards.
You gonna say the full title?
Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Thanks. There we go. Playing by the rules here, man.
Okay.
Nomadland.
Woman Talking.
Men Talking. Oh, man. Oh, I'm already blanking. Oh, my God. Frances McDormand, Tragedy of Macbeth.
Ooh, good one.
Thanks.
Francis. What other Coen Brothers is movies?
I know, I'm trying to think because she's in like 4.
She's in a handful. Burn After Reading.
God damn it. Linda Litsky. Chicky. She's great in that movie.
Oh, she's a great actor. She's fucking 3 Oscars, bro.
What else does she won an Oscar for? Fargo.
We said them all.
Yeah, we said them all. Fargo, Ebbing,
Ebbing,
and
Nomadland.
Nomadland. That's right. Nomadland. I was talking to someone about Nomadland today, and they're like,
Why would anyone talk about that?
it was just we were
Just joking.
we weren't making
I'm
fun of
joking.
it, but we were like, that was the best picture winner. Like,
Yep, sure was.
2020.
Sure was.
Not a lot of
What a
movies.
weird
came out.
year.
Weird year. Invisible Man was way better.
Tenet
Moving
came
on.
out.
Tenet
Wait, no, the
came
year after.
No, it came out that year.
Yeah, Tenet came out.
2020,
Yeah,
baby.
That should have won Best Picture.
June 2020.
Best Picture, my pick.
Francis. Oh, Francis. Why can't I think of more Francis McDormand movies? I'm blanking, man. I'm out.
He's out.
I'm out. What do you got?
Francis.
This game is so hard. I swear.
You just draw blanks when you're on the spot.
You get out their big movies.
It's the deep tracks that are tough.
Yeah.
Man, Frances McDormand.
Oh my gosh, we're so dumb.
I feel like she's in a couple of big movies.
Yeah, you already won because you were the last one to say it. She's in several Wes Anderson movies. Totally forgot.
Oh, yeah.
French Dispatch, Isle of Dogs,
That's right.
Moonrise Kingdom, Promised Land,
Oh, yeah. Promised Land.
Transformers, Dark of the Moon.
I didn't know that.
This Must Be the Place.
Do you want to do another actor?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, we got
That's
it.
fun.
We got
Almost Famous, plays the mom.
Oh, my God. Almost Famous.
Primal Fear.
Oh, yeah. The other, his assistant.
Cool. Barton Fink as well. All right.
Oh, fuck it. Barton Fink.
Let's get to our movie quote competition. Are you ready?
Ready.
Who makes all of these? I do. And I practice with them 3 hours a day. Need to get yourself a girl, mate. Or perhaps the reason you practice 3 hours a day is that you've already found one and are otherwise incapable of wooing said strumpets. You're not a eunuch, are you?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, sir.
That's a good one.
That's a
You're
great
not a
line.
eunuch, are you? I mean, I remember being a kid watching that fight. That
amazing.
sword fight, they go up in the rafters.
So good.
I was like, this is amazing.
I think I'm gonna watch it this weekend.
I was like, this is the fucking best movie
I
ever.
love Black Pearl, man.
What a great fight scene.
What a great film.
Yeah.
They don't make them like that.
They don't make them like that.
Fucking hell, man.
They're still making them. They're not like this
It's
one.
not like that. That might be the last great adventure movie, probably.
Number 2's pretty fun.
No, but I mean, if you talk about like, let's go OG of a franchise.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I see. You didn't see the National Treasure TV series?
No, but even National Treasure doesn't touch.
Oh
Black
no, yeah,
Pearl,
I wouldn't put them in the same ballpark. I don't even put any of the other Pirates movies in the same ballpark as the first
No,
Pirates.
me neither. It's just, oh man, I'm gonna watch it ASAP.
What a picture!
I fucking love it.
That's gonna be a classic.
I can't wait 50 years watching that when I'm an old man.
Showing it to your grandkids.
Yeah, this is
You guys don't know.
Johnny
Turn
Depp.
up the VR computer.
Get off your hoverboard. Turn off your Ender's Game. And your Ready Player One.
This is what we used to watch. This is classic.
When you're back from the moon, come we'll watch
From the moon.
the lunar city.
The kids are gonna be living in like the video rooms
Probably.
with all the senses interacting.
Probably never go to school. It's just school there.
School will be in the video games.
They're not reading
yeah.
books anyways. Come on.
Yeah, not even at high class colleges and universities. They can't even read.
They don't know how to read. Can't read too good.
No, they can read. They just can't do it.
They can't tell time.
They can read Twitter, but they can't read a book. That's our society, guys. Anyways, what year did? Wait, no. Here's my quiz question. It's a quote. Sorry, it's a quote. If you don't stop playing games, I will shave your head and make you eat your hair. I mean it. I will make you eat your hair.
Fuck. I don't know.
That's killing of a sacred deer. Colin Farrell to his
Bro, I
son.
haven't seen that in a while.
It's a good one.
It was good.
They don't make him like that.
Yeah. You gotta do it, I mean.
No, yeah, they still make it like that.
Guess this movie release here, Anthony. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, good Sean Connery pick. That was a fun one.
Not for the box office.
Bombed. It tanked. I'm going to say we were teenagers when it came out, for sure. I'm going to say 2005.
So close, 2003.
Oh, damn. What year did The Revenant come out?
$2017.
We were just talking about it the other day. Spotlight beat it for Best Picture.
16.
2015.
15. Wow, is that old?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You're old, man.
Oh my
You're
God.
going to be 35 soon.
Thanks.
Fucking Spotlight.
Fucking Spotlight. It's just gonna get.
I work for the Boston Globe.
In a
guy.
month, we're just gonna be saying Spotlight.
Spotlight.
Boston Family Memories. Spotlight. Movie Bob quiz time. What serial killer movie did Patty Jenkins write and direct?
Spotlight.
Fucking no, it's
Fucking Spotlight.
fucking Spotlight.
Monster.
Correcto.
Who's her breakout?
See, correcto.
See, correcto. All right, here's a good one. Both Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe have the same name in the film The Lighthouse. What is the name?
William
Incorrect.
Thomas
Thomas is right.
Thomas Wake.
No, they just both have the same first name.
Okay.
Thomas.
Okay, yeah.
I guess you're kind of right. You're kind of wrong, too, because you thought it was both Thomas Wake. I'll give it to you.
I said Thomas.
You got it, man.
Just said same first name. There's no I need some specificity here.
Speci what?
Specificity.
Speci what?
Is that it's Inception.
Yeah, it's an Inception quote.
Does he say speci what? I don't think he says speci what.
He says, what?
I think he says, excuse
Some
me.
what?
Specificity.
Specificity.
Fucking love Inception.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Don't make 'em like that anymore. All right, Anthony. Do you have any haters this week when we work?
Oh, yeah,
with?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to pull up a great 5-star written review while you do that.
We got some good ones.
They don't make them like that anymore.
I think we're going to get lots of unsubscribes with this episode, by the way. I have a feeling.
I think so, too.
That whole the debate about the opening scene.
Someone's going to prove you wrong. I guarantee it.
No, I checked it. There's no date. I just watched it.
Do they say Indiana before that
The
moment?
first time he says Indy is after it's revealed that the guy's not Indy.
then
That's
he
the
says,
first time the friend says Indy. He
Indiana,
goes, Indy,
Indiana,
Indy. Then he goes, Indiana. Yep.
Indiana. I'm watching this opening scene after the episode.
All right, here we go. Guy Loves an Onion. Best investigation films ever. Duology. I believe it's pronounced double feature. Unsubscribed.
We were trying to figure out what, not a trilogy, but a duo of films.
Arabella Mason on Temple of Doom. Susan Sarandon movies, and you guys didn't say Rocky Horror Picture Show. Also, personal favorite, Shall We Dance? Unfrickin' subscribe.
Trendsetter.
You just changing everyone's vocabulary.
I have been
Unfrickin' subscribe.
I didn't realize I had such a talent for creating slang that's been used in the past, but I'm just using it as my own.
Van Cow Man Cow.
What?
It's her last name.
Van Cow, Man Cow?
Yeah. Her last name's Man Cow, so it's Van Cow Man Cow.
Gotcha.
She's a great listener. Of
That's
our
a
show.
that's a good superhero name.
LMFAO, Aaron Brockovich, doesn't just walk into the lawyer's office and gets a job. He represents her in a car accident case and loses, and she goes there to demand money. He says he can't give her any, so she tells him she wants a job. I happened to watch this movie last night. You guys cracked me up, LOL. I was way wrong.
That's what it was because I remember I was like, I think he was her lawyer or something like
I
that.
was like, she just walks in.
Yeah. And you're so convincing. I was like, okay, he's probably right. It was funny as I watched it last year, too. I just couldn't remember. She walks in a great fit.
Oh, yeah.
Julia looks good in that movie.
She looks good in every movie.
Yeah.
Next up, C9 Special. I came to listen about Indiana Jones, not Minecraft. Unsubscribed.
Context, we kept saying Minecraft instead of Minecart.
Dylan Waddell. Just listened to Temple of Doom episode, and rolling back the tape on James was fucking awesome. You guys need to do that more often, and if you don't, I'll have to unsubscribe.
I wonder how many people rewound to find that bit.
No, I put it in.
Oh, you put it in the
I
episode?
showed you.
I thought you were just doing that for the edit for funds.
No, I threw it in. You challenged me.
I know I did.
I told you to be careful.
Oh, I know. I said I know. I'm like, I know I'm taking a chance here, but it's just fun. I roll the dice, man.
I threw myself in there, and then I slowed down the speed of the clip, so it was like PG rating. Joe Emerson. If anyone's new to the show, James and I are both often wrong, and
often right.
Often right. We're not computers.
No one's perfect.
We're not robots. Joe Emerson. Halle Berry was in Die Another Day, not Tomorrow Never Dies. Unsubscribe. Justice for James. Understandable though, because Die Another Day was trash.
You said Die Another Day.
Yeah, Justice for James.
Oh, I thought you said unsubscribe for me. No. I missed the justice part. So justice for James.
Justice for James.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support.
Joe Smith. If you're Scottish, then I am Donald Duck. Unsub. Wait, it's Mickey Mouse. Still subscribed.
Fixed it. We fixed it.
I like the mid-unsubscribe in the comment.
I can just imagine the way people think, like, oh, I'm unsubscribing. Oh, okay, they fixed it.
They saved
it. There we go.
FC Bork. So happy my unsubscribe made it in. Hopefully from now on, James will pronounce compilation right.
Compilation.
But I may have to unsubscribe from Anthony now. My name is pronounced like Burke, not Bork. LOL. It's spelled Bourke. So I said Bork. Burke.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I would still unsubscribe. You should know better. You should know better, Anthony.
Juice Play. Did not include me in the unsubscribed. Wow. Unsubscribed again.
That sounds like a band name.
Got you now.
Juice Play.
Juice Play.
That'd be a great band name from
Juice
the 90s.
Play. A grunge punk band. Juice Play.
Christian rock.
D-Rod.
Drod.
Halle Berry and Tomorrow Never Dies. Unsubscribed. Temple of Dune from everyone's favorite comic nerd. I can't believe you said it's the reddest movie ever when it's obviously Dune Part 2. Unsubscribed.
Man, that opening, what's it called? Eclipse scene?
Yeah.
So good.
Ibarra. James caught lying via the playback tape. I can't believe it. Canceled and unsubscribed.
Does it count as lying if I thought I was right?
I wouldn't call it that as lying.
Yeah.
Not if you think you're in your heart that you were right.
Yeah. In my heart.
In my heart.
In my heart?
My heart.
I thought I was 50% chance of being right.
James. I'm AT Dubs. James, I don't even know what Minecraft is. Me, unsubscribed.
Don't.
Big Kahuna. Man, you guys got to be kidding me. You guys snubbed the greatest movie of all time again in Best Investigation Films. Citizen Kane. Unsub.
Subscribe.
They never hit the unsubscribe.
Because they just left.
They disappeared.
I guess, yeah. I mean, that opens the door for...
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
That's
like
what I said.
When we talk about like cop movies, like every cop movie
Yeah.
would be an investigation film.
Alexander MacArthur. After years of loyal listening and watching, I am unfortunately going to unsubscribe because James hates Steven Spielberg.
Oh my god! I hope Steven never
Listens
hears
to that. He finds our podcast. Oh, I wonder what they think of Temple of Doom.
Watches to the last
Just
2 minutes.
just because you name Spielberg doesn't mean you're always right.
Well, never working in Hollywood.
Canceled. You are blackballed, sir. Blacklisted.
What? Blackballed?
Same thing.
No, it's not.
Blackballed? What's blackballed?
I have no idea. You tell me. You're the one who said it.
I think it's pretty much the same thing. It's
No, blacklisted is different than blackballed.
Bald. Maybe I shouldn't search this in the internet.
You're gonna get blackballed.
Hold on, what does it mean? Hold on.
It feels like it's an idiom or an
it feels
expression.
Like, what does this mean?
I know.
Maybe I just made it
blueballed is an expression. Blacklisted is an expression. I think you just made your own. I'm getting blackballed. I don't know what that.
To reject someone.
I guess.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Secretly reject someone. Yep. Same thing. They're
Okay.
synonyms.
Okay. I got blackballed by Steven Spielberg.
No, you will be blackballed by Steven Spielberg. He's gonna blackball you big time, man. What's so funny? It's a normal word.
What a funny sentence.
Hey, you did it to yourself. You blackballed yourself, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
You're genius, Steven.
Don't blackball James. All right, next up, Brody. Terrible take. In my opinion, Dial of Destiny is amazing. I love how geriatric Indiana Jones can barely walk, but yet still knock out bad guys. Unsubscribed. Oh,
Fucking
man.
hell. As soon as he put booze in his coffee, I'm like, I'm done with this movie. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Wakes up and just has fucking gin right up to start the morning. I was like, nope. No, thank you. But. Okay. That's it. We're caught up. Thanks, everybody, for sending in your... Hold on.
Unsubscribes.
VNal wrote, Time for rebranding to the podcast of doom to avoid unsubscribes. I like that. Podcast of doom. That's pretty good.
That's a good name.
That's a nice one.
All right, you want to hear a great 5-star written review?
Oh, sorry. I got one more. Seriously, guys, from Saged, you guys are still leaving links to Google Podcast. Unsubscribed.
What?
That's what it says.
We're leaving links to Google Podcasts.
Yeah.
Well, on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
It's just a template. It's the same thing in every one.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
It's like essentially leaving a link to its own video.
I'm confused.
Because isn't Google Podcast YouTube?
No, Google Podcasts is its own thing.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I still thought it was funny.
It's funny. I don't get why, but it's funny. All right, we have a great 5-star written review from KongOn24. I hope I'm saying it right. It could be Konyon24.
Don't get blackballed by someone else.
Don't blackball me, KongOn24. The Good Guys, 5 stars. I only listen to one podcast, and it's this one.
Oh, yeah, man.
James and Anthony's combined humor, insight, and dialogue are a delight every episode. They have great takes 99% of the time. The only opinion of theirs I disagree with is how they firmly believe Order is a bottom-tier Harry Potter and put Azkaban at the top, which is at best a filler film due to its sidelining of the main antagonist. Whoa, bold statement. Order deserves more praise as it, one, gives arguably the greatest duel in fantasy sci-fi cinema history with Dumbledore versus Voldy. I mean,
Dumby versus Voldy.
Outside of Revenge of the Sith for obvious reasons, I could agree with that for sure.
In fantasy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's
Lord of the
number
Rings
one.
doesn't have that many like great fights.
It's like Gandalf versus the Balrog when it comes to fantasy fights.
I want you to say Balrog.
I've trained myself. Just like how you can train yourself to stop saying outlier and start saying outlier. And I'm going to be better about compilation. See? Continuing this. It's the first film Harry learned to utilize his friends and family for help and not lone survivor every problem that pops up.
Lone survivor every problem.
He used this tool routinely for the final 3 movies and ultimately to destroy the Horcruxes. Besides that one outlier, just kidding, outlier, James and Anthony have very reasonable takes that are fun to listen to. That's the end of the review. I really like that one, and I respect your take. For me, that's the thing with Order. The book's incredible, right? The story's fantastic. It's more of, I think, some of the filmmaking.
In Order?
Yeah, in Order. Some of the filmmaking, for me, doesn't quite work. The ending's incredible, and I like bits of it, but for me, Azkaban is just a masterpiece.
Order, I mean, I love Order, but sometimes it's kind of annoying. It is.
They're all great. That's
be
the
kind of
thing. They're
annoying.
all great movies.
Yeah. But hey, I respect putting Order as your favorite. I totally
Yeah,
respect
keep
that.
defending it.
Yeah. I respect that opinion.
Yeah. me
I
too.
respect all opinions. That's what subjectivity means.
Exactly. And being friends.
Friends to the end.
Thank you for that.
This is
wonderful-
like the world we live in, you know? People who love Azkaban can be friends with people who love Order.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's the hope I have for humanity.
Anthony has a dream.
I have a dream.
Frickin' A. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Stop saying frickin'.
I can't stop.
Jesus, what are you, 1950s college professor?
We were saying frickin' in the 90s.
Yeah, we were saying
Frickin' was
It's
was
because
hot.
Mom would yell at us if we said fuck.
Thank you, Kongon24, for that wonderful written review. If you want to leave a written review, go on Apple, leave one. If you don't have an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, all you need is an email address, and you can sign up for iTunes and leave a review that way. We'd love to read them out on the show. And thank you so much.
Big time.
All right, Anthony. What's your streaming recommendation, pal?
Love Lies Bleeding is available on Max. It's a cool movie that came out last year.
Mine is Hereditary. Was just added to Netflix for 2025. January. Check it out. I think it's time to get into the really cool bit about
What were
the
you gonna say?
library in Venice.
Oh, the library.
Yeah, in Venice.
the
You
library.
teased the library in Venice.
It was like 20 minutes ago.
It was like 8 years ago, man.
It was like 8 fricks ago.
Well, I cut you off
it's okay.
because I wanted to save that bacon. It sounded really interesting. So you're talking about the library in Venice, and go on. King.
There's a lot of filming inconsistency in this scene, and I love this scene. But the production, for whatever reasons, were probably limited at this set. So there's a bunch of huge, glaring changes made to the set in production design, and some that are really like laughable. So if you haven't seen this online or if you haven't looked into this, first thing I'll say is the bookshelf. So after ND finds the X marks the spot, he's like, "Oh, it looks like an X," and then he goes up to the staircase, the spiral staircase.
Beautiful shot.
Yeah, he goes up to the rafters, and to get a better view, bird's eye view of the floor, confirming that it is an X. And the camera tracks up with him, and then it reveals the X on the floor. But then we get the reverse of Indy, of him speaking. X marks the spot, and behind him is a bookshelf, but it's a prop. So this bookshelf is really just like probably 2 inches thick, and it's not real books. It's just like this basically fake bookshelf surface that you would probably put on a set way in the background.
So it's 2-dimensional?
It's almost 2-dimensional. It's a little physical, but it's really only 2 inches thick, if that. It's a prop that you would put on a bookshelf set way behind the camera so that like the audience doesn't know it's not real.
Let me look this up.
And so this bookshelf is like it's clearly a prop, and it looks like a sign more than anything. But most people never even noticed it, no matter how many times they've seen that film.
I've never noticed it.
But it's clearly... Oh, you didn't know this?
I didn't notice this.
Look, okay, Google the bookshelf behind Indy in Last Crusade. And you'll see this bookshelf is just like a flat surface, basically. And where there's supposed to be like empty space, where there are no books, it's just like the black surface of that wall.
Holy crap. It's like they're magnets.
Yeah.
It literally looks like a blackboard.
It looks like a blackboard with like
wood glued to it.
Yeah.
With fake book spines glued to it. Oh my God.
There's no depth to it at all. And that's right behind Harrison Ford for that shot.
Because it's like a blackboard that's supposed to look like empty space.
Exactly.
Holy crap. I've seen this movie 15 times and never noticed that.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's so clearly a prop.
It's bad.
It's not
it's a bad prop.
It doesn't look good.
It looked great far away, you're right.
For sure. That's for you dress the set with it in the background. You wouldn't put it near camera. They must have, for whatever reason, had to put that there. Now, the other big change in that scene is, so the floor has the giant X on it. He's like, X marks the spot, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes down the steps, and we get this great back and forth with the librarian who's stamping. And so I don't know why they did this. Maybe it was something to do with the set. But so Indy takes this little like brass stand, and he uses it to bash the stone tile, right? And so he hits it a few times, and we get this great back and forth cross-cutting, awesome humor of the librarian with the stamps. Every time he stamps something, we hear the huge hammering of the metal on the tile. Really funny for the audience. However, when it cuts to the overhead of the floor, and Indy, first of all, now the floor is made of square tiles. And then we see that like he cracked open the edge of one tile.
Yeah.
The X is gone.
No,
there's no
way.
X. There's no X left. It's a completely different floor.
Oh, you're right, because it's green.
It's just a flat, completely just green floor. There's no X anymore.
Oh my God.
And so he lifts up this tile, and then it's like the cavern entrance. This floor is completely different.
Holy crap.
Completely different.
Yeah, like
absolutely different floor.
It's and you can see the imprint of the X.
The X before it, yeah.
Like they painted over it or something.
Exactly. What's painted is the white.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's fucking nuts.
I don't know why they did that. I don't know why it is the case, but that's what it's so different.
Maybe it was a rewrite.
It could have been a rewrite. It could have been something, but they could have filmed them on completely different days. You're right. It could have been out of the schedule and maybe a reshoot shot. But for whatever reason, in that scene, the bookshelf looks terrible and the X on the floor disappears. I don't know why. I couldn't find anything why. Nothing explains it.
You couldn't find it at all?
I couldn't find an explanation. Let me just Google it right now. Last Crusade.
That's absolutely insane to me. That's freaking crazy. I'm freaking blown away.
Yeah, most people don't notice it.
I've seen this movie so many times.
The
and I
floor is
noticed
the
it.
biggest thing. There's no X on the floor.
And I didn't even have to, because I know the shot so well of when he cracks the floor in a green tile.
There's no X left.
And because the X is on top of white when you do the overhead shot, it's the green X on white tile, like the white background. That's pretty nuts, dude.
Isn't that wild?
So I thought you were going to talk about an inconsistency with later on in that scene. So I love the moment, they crack open the floor. It leads them to the tomb where the knight's buried with the shield that has the rest an identical sketch of the missing part.
Oh, sorry. I was just reading about the X.
go for it.
There's nothing. So sorry. Start again. I wasn't listening.
So continuing that scene, I thought you were going to talk about an inconsistency. So, like I said, they go down into the tomb.
Yeah.
And they find the knight, obviously, the knight Rick, and and so
Ricky from the Crusade.
over time, water has leaked into this tomb as well as petroleum.
Yes.
And Indy does that thing where he takes a piece of cloth, puts it around a bone, right, like a femur or a stick or something. I think it's a femur.
It's a femur,
It's a
yeah.
femur bone.
Yeah.
And then he makes a torch, right?
And he's soaking.
Yeah, and he's soaking in petroleum water. Also, he opens his eyes in it later. And so he makes this torch, right?
Yes.
Great torch. But obviously, when you hold a torch, you always hold it at an angle. Fun fact, you always hold it at a 45-degree angle because you don't want it to fall and burn on your hand.
Oh.
That's always
Gotcha.
That's what you want to do. That's why anytime you watch a movie, same thing with flares, they'll drip down your hand or whatever's.
And like embers would fall onto you.
So you do a 45-degree angle.
Gotcha.
Safety code 101 for holding torches. Obviously, Harrison's doing this, Indy's doing this, and as they're walking through the petroleum water and discovering the rest of the tomb, bits and shards of inflamed cloth fall into the water, right?
Yes.
It happens maybe like 5 or 6 times. And, it's petroleum water. When that shit get lit on fire. And you continue the rest of the scene like, it's no big deal. It's just probably too much water to be lit. And so, but then the guys who are protecting the cup.
Wait, under the coffin?
No, the guys who are protecting the Holy Grail, the
Yes.
secrets, right?
Yeah.
They're chasing after them.
The guys with the hats, yeah.
Yeah, they're in the hats, the Fez hats. The guy drops a match
Yeah, yeah.
onto the petroleum water and lights it on fire.
The air lights up, the atmosphere.
Why didn't the torch drippings that are on fire falling into the water light everything on fire?
Because movie.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
So that's an inconsistency for me where like, every time I watch that scene, I'm like, why doesn't everything get lit on fire? But I still love it.
All these inconsistencies happened in 5 minutes. Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty funny.
It's so great.
It's not an easy scene to do. But at the end of the day, you gotta do what you can. But that one always gets me: the fire falling off the flame, not lighting the petroleum on fire. But the match does.
Yeah, I've never been able to find any information about the sex. I can't find anything. I don't know why it happened. I don't know why. Isn't that mind blowing?
It's crazy.
The fact that the's no more X on the floor.
If we ever meet Steven Spielberg, if we ever get to do an interview after the interview's over, we'll be like, dude, what's up with the X
What happened
on
to the
Last
X?
Crusade floor? Like, what? Can you please explain that?
What could possibly be the explanation? I don't know. I do not know.
I guess maybe a rewrite or something, or maybe
Yeah, but it was clearly the white paint was clearly polished off of the green stone.
Maybe maybe it got retiled and they had to do a reshoot, but they couldn't do anything about it.
I don't know because you can still see the X imprint.
You can see the.
Here's what it could possibly be. They showed it first with the clearly visible X for the audience to see the X, but maybe it was never that visible in reality. If that makes sense, like it was a little touch to help the audience see. Oh, this is an X.
I have a theory.
What's that?
What if it's the exact same floor, the exact same tile, but from that angle, 15, 20 feet up in the air, with light pouring from the sun, maybe the tile looks white from a higher angle. Maybe it's the exact same floor, but when you look at it, and that's the illusion, you see the X marks the spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
I think
it's an illusion.
that might be it.
I think it's an illusion because we don't really see. I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing that's probably it.
I think that's it.
And you can't see the X until you get a different perspective.
I think you're right. I think that makes sense.
It's just like
because here, when they reveal, when he starts to the floor,
Yeah.
it's a different angle.
Yep.
Different angle shot. You might be right.
I think I'm right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think I'm right.
I actually, you know what? I think I like that.
Because that shows that it's a clue that you can't see if you're on the ground, but you have to get to a higher angle to see it.
Mm-hmm. And they just accentuate it on set, obviously.
And probably Spielberg's like, oh, people will get this. And meanwhile, 30 years later on the internet, why isn't the floor, why is it different?
Mistake!
I think it's not a mistake, and I think it's done on purpose.
I think you're right. I think you're a smart dude, man.
Thanks, man. I've never noticed that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They clearly, for the other shot, polished out a lot of the white, obviously, to make it less noticeable.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's white tile. I think it's just an illusion.
No, it's not white tile. It's like they put like a layer of some coating on it.
Yeah, so when you're at the angle...
Because on the overhead wide, where it's clear, the edges of the X are super sharp and well drawn out.
Yeah.
And then on the next shot, revealing that it's hard to see, it looks like they rubbed all that out. I think it could have been like a wax.
Yeah, it might have been.
I think it was wax.
And they probably, when you're at the higher angle, it makes it stronger. I bet you there was their shot was maybe longer. Maybe they planned to show it green, go to white. Maybe it didn't work out in the edit.
Maybe how they imagined it would be.
Yeah, so maybe the camera movement didn't show it well enough, so they just had to cut and hope people would pick it up.
But it definitely looks like it could be a waxy substance they drew on, and then they rubbed it out for the next shot.
Not rubbed it out, but made it opaque.
No, they rubbed it, because look at the edges of the X. They're super...
but
they're super messy.
But you can still see the X.
Yeah, but they're messy.
I know, but you can still... I'm just saying you can still see the... So, yes, but not to the point where it's invisible.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not saying it's invisible, but I'm saying they rubbed the wax off.
For sure.
Mostly. Because look how rough it is everywhere.
For sure.
It's not... Yeah. I think I'm right. Solved.
I think I'm right.
I think James Deveney just solved the mystery of the X in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I think you could just retire now.
I think I should probably make a Reddit account and solve this for everyone that's been searching this.
You'll get mostly hate. Fucking idiot.
Idiot, he's wrong. It's a mistake.
So fucking dumb. Where'd you come up with that idea? Who do you think you are, Mr. Special?
No, Spielberg's a genius. He doesn't make that many mistakes.
Your James is just trying to save his name with Spielberg.
Maybe me figuring out his little trick.
Make a clip about it.
Yeah.
So make a clip about what is the mystery of the X, and then you can be like, oh, what if it's this? Steven Spielberg will see it. He'll be like, that guy's smart.
I wonder if they make movies. Let's
they did an episode on Temple of Doom. Let me listen to this episode of Temple of Doom.
2-minute mark. Oh, this is my favorite piece of content of the year. Steven Spielberg, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I love Twisters. I wonder what they thought of Twisters.
Yeah, I bet they liked the no kiss at the end. If you listen to the Temple of Doom episode, you know what we're referring to.
I feel, honestly, because I've known about the X for years, and I never discovered it. I saw it online, people talking about it, so I can't take any credit for like finding that out on my own. I've known about it for years, and I've never been able to really put it together until you.
All you had to do is ask me, bro.
Just ask the big guns. Ask the big guns.
No big deal. You know, I say a lot of dumb things, but man,
hey, you made up for the opening of the episode.
Sometimes that brain cooks, man.
You made up for earlier.
Sometimes it just gets cooking.
I think you erased what happened earlier from the face of the earth. And then some.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Can we talk about more Riz from Indiana?
Oh,
I completely disagree, because you say he's not like this suave womanizer.
The first movie.
I think he's always been a womanizer.
No. That's the whole point of the first movie. That's why they cut that stuff out, because they didn't want to make it come across like that. But then I remember in Temple of Doom, I said they brought it back.
Yeah.
They pushed it, but then, but yeah, for sure. Then they turned
absolute womanizer.
He's a fucking.
He's got his game, man. As
soon as he meets Elsa,
he picks a flower for her.
I knew. No, he says, I knew it. She says, I knew it was you because you have your father's eyes and my mother's ears. The rest is yours.
What a fucking line! What a line! Oh my god! And then he's polite as well. He says, would you permit me with the flower?
Fraulein,
do you permit me? Not normal. Normally. No, neither do I. Puts the flower on her lapel. I'm like, this guy.
I'll steal another for you tomorrow.
And then when they're going through the temple, she's like eyeing him like eye candy. Like she's like, I'm gonna have sex with this guy.
When he bashes through the wall,
she's like, this guy's
like,
amazing.
damn.
She's like, I can't wait to have sex with this dude.
oh my god.
I had the old buck. Now I can't wait for the young stallion. Step Brothers quote.
He is the. What if like I have a vivacious V line going down from my chest pubes to my ball.
She won't
throat.
be able to resist. Shut the fuck up!
Just shut the fuck up! I love it, Step Brothers. How he goes to medical school, but he drops out with 1 year left.
Who did?
Dale.
He went to medical school.
But he dropped out with a year left, or like 1 semester left.
It's about who you know.
Exactly. Anyways.
Oh man.
No, Rizmaster Indy is full throttle.
He got game, man. He got game.
But overall, the characters in this movie are fantastic, and I think the story's so strong, and it comes back to the father-son connection. With the great opening of not showing Henry Sr.'s face, I think is so strong to his reveal later on when we're like 45 minutes into the movie when we finally see Sean Connery's face for the first time in the Scottish castle after him and Elsa infiltrated. And it's such a great introduction to the character for Henry Sr. And then the rest of the film it flourishes from their relationship, the past relationship where they didn't communicate well. And and Indy never got what he wanted out of his father. And that's why he left home at such a young age. They've had, basically an estranged relationship. And he's always been seeking the approval of his father. And he thinks he gets it here and there. It's all he wants, which we get when he thinks he's dead at the cliff, is a hug. Yeah. He just wants a hug from his dad. But even the vase scene is so funny
great.
because he cracks him in the head with the vase. He's like, oh my God. Oh dear, what have I done?
It's okay.
And he's in the background. He's like, don't worry, Dad, I'm fine. He's like, oh, thank God. It's a fake. It's so funny. But Harrison in the background's acting like, oh, my dad actually cares about me. And, the story is really, like I said, about the Holy Grail. But the Holy Grail for Indy is his father, finding his father, saving his father, and getting that relationship that he's always wanted with his dad, which Henry Sr. at the end of the film, after he asks Indy what he got, or Indy asks him, he says, I got illumination.
Illumination is what he's whispering to himself in the opening. He's talking about illumination when he's drawing the figure of the stained glass window.
And he thinks that the pursuit of the Grail will get him illumination, but...
illumination about his life.
Yeah, and it does, and it's about my family.
What was really interesting about these two playing father and son is Sean Connery was only 12 years older than Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he looks good for his age.
So to help with the relationship and the help with the age gap, they made sure that Sean Connery grew out his white beard, which immediately makes you look at least 15 years older than you are.
Yeah, he looks like 108.
Yeah, but he's actually pretty spry and he's much younger than he looks. The white beard really ages him. And then they always made sure Harrison never had stubble, like in every once in a while in the other films he's had a little stubble. But
he's like the half-beard OG.
Yeah. He's got a clean-shaven face the whole time to make him appear much younger than Sean Connery. And also, with the wardrobe, I like the fit for Henry Jones Sr. because, like Indy, he only has one outfit. And how do you portray a scholar? How do you portray the eccentricities of his personality? And so I think the tweed suit was the perfect pick for his outfit. Something about the tweed suit, it feels like old intellectual. It's very Scottish. I remember in Edinburgh, there's a couple of tailor shops with like those tweed suits are very popular there. So you got to do the tweed suit. But also, I love his bucket hat. His bucket hat, because Indy's famous for his hat, giving his dad like a dorky hat like that really hammers home that he belongs in libraries and he's a student of history. He spends all of his time reading and researching. Indy spends most of his time out in the field, like you said, a field agent compared to like a house agent or whatever it would be called. Indy's out in the field. He's a brawler. He's an adventurer. And so with the wardrobes, I mean, I think costume design is so important to filmmaking, and I think that the big showy films, they get so much attention. But this is an example of your clothing is giving the audience so much detail and showing the differences between two personalities just with two outfits. And I think it's like these subtleties that make me really love costume design in film. And this is the kind of thing that like flies under the radar. It's not showy. It's not extravagant. It's not like this crazy thing from the past or something from the future. It's very simple, but I think it does just as good a job as those other kinds of films.
Plus, they counter each other with their outfits.
Yeah.
Similar color schemes. The hat is a great counter to each other, and it really just adds so much to the characters. You're absolutely right. I think the wardrobe's great, and it just adds to their relationship. And I think that when it comes to on-screen megastar pairings, this one is got to be like a top 10, top 5
right.
all time.
Yeah.
I mean, Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, Paul Newman, and Robert Redford's up there as well. And there's so many other greats. You know, Brad Pitt and Paul Newman's a great one too. But
Which film?
I mean, I'm sorry, Robert Redford and Brad Pitt's. The Spygate.
Yeah. Spy Game.
You're all over the place today. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Henry Ford.
Did
you like...
I maxed out after I figured out the X.
This is why we can't record this late, man.
I figured out the X. I'm maxed out. Brain power's gone. The pairing's so dynamic. It's so fun. They're both so talented. And to see Sean Connery do such a fun version of this character, because Henry Sr., he's everything that Indy is, but he outdoes him in so many different things. You know, he outdoes him intellectually. He outdoes him with the woman. He gets the girl first. He figures out the clues first. Indy's sort of like picking up the pieces in a lot of ways. But I like how throughout the whole course of the film, he's kind of outdoing Indy in different scenarios.
The seagulls?
Yeah, the seagulls, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, figuring out the seagulls to get the jet to crash the plane, which are actually doves, because seagulls you couldn't train, but doves you can train.
They actually, so the way they did the effect, it's super, it's like, I love behind the scenes footage, because so Indy and Sean Connery, so Sean Connery is running towards camera, and then right next to camera are 4 crew guys lying on the beach on their bellies with these boxes with the birds, and they're no boxes. They're literally like there's a group of doves, and the crew guys are like waving their hands at the doves and like pushing into them to get the doves fly up. And then there's 2 guys with giant bags filled with feathers in front of fans, and they're throwing feathers in front of the fans that blow up into the air. And all these little ridiculous lo-fi pieces come together for the effect.
That's all you gotta do, man.
I love it.
And in addition to sort of outdoing Indy multiple times, he also is just this great bumbling comedic light. This movie's probably the funniest of every Indy movie. It's a laugh out loud all over the place once them two are together, as well as Brody has a lot of great comedic moments. Like, I love the bit where Brody has the diary, and they're like, oh, he sticks out like a sore thumb, we'll find him today. And Indy's like, good luck. I mean, he's got a 2-day head start. He has friends here to every town to Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages. With any luck, he'll already have the Grail. And it cuts to Brody. Hello, does anyone speak anything English? Or at least ancient Greek? Do you understand anything I'm saying? It's so fucking funny.
The best cut in the film.
So Brody's got a lot of great comedy in this movie as well for a character. But what Sean Connery does with Henry Sr., outdoing Indy, but then bumbling things like lighting the castle on fire by accident, by dropping the match, blowing the flames so that it just grows immensely and so quickly. The Voss scene is super funny. And the jet sequence where he's using the turret gun and he shoots out their own plane in the back. He's like, son, they got us.
I'm sorry, son. They got us.
It's so funny.
She
and
talks in her sleep. I love that line. I love, because Elsa's a great character, and I love the reaction shot, because Indy's goes, how'd you know? She talks in her sleep. And then he looks and we see the shot of Sean Connery. He's like, He's looking around. It's great. So coy.
But yeah, Elsa's a great character too, you know, until we find out she's a Nazi, but still that makes her so layered. She's not exactly a Nazi. She's working with the Nazis. She's from Austria. Alison Doty's actually Irish. She was only 21 years old when she filmed this and got the role. Elsa's a 28-year-old Austrian, so she did a lot of work to create a great Austrian accent for the character. Phenomenal performance from her, such a young actor at the time. She has a very mature look as well.
Yeah, she looks way older than 21.
Plus the makeup and the wardrobe helps a lot, I think, sell it. And she's phenomenal, but this character, Elsa, she's got great history chops, just like Indy, but she's also greedy, and she wants power. She wants the Grail. She wants the power that the Grail holds, which is her biggest weakness. And even to an extent, Indy has that weakness too, which is shown by both of them at the end of the film. Before she falls, she's reaching for the Grail. She falls. Indy does the same thing, reaching for the Grail. But for Indy, it's more of to get my father's approval for me when I watch that sequence. Versus Elsa's trying to reach for the Grail before she falls because she wants the Grail for herself. She wants the power for her and Indy. But when I watch this movie and I see Indy reaching for it, he's reaching for it to finish his father's life goal, to get his father's approval versus for power. And that's Indy's biggest weakness, is trying to get his father's approval.
Making the Indy girl in this film a villain character was by far the best thing they could have done with it.
I agree.
It was probably, for anyone who saw it for the first time, unexpected and a great twist when it was revealed that she was a villain and took the diary from his pocket. I think it was such a smart move for the story.
I love that scene because Henry Sr.'s like, she's a Nazi.
Yeah. Shoot her.
Yeah,
Shoot her too.
Yeah, don't believe her. Yeah, she's lying. She's a Nazi. She's one of them. He's like, I told you.
And he's like, I'm sorry. No. She's like, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm sorry. And then she takes the book from him. I love his like, yeah, I had to get the diary as far away from the Nazis as I possibly could. He's like, fuck.
Marcus has the map. Sorry, not the diary. Marcus
Yeah, the map. Yeah. But a big sequence in this film, obviously getting the Nazis back is great because they are such great villains. But having the villains like Donovan and Elsa not be essentially Nazis, I think works really well because they're powerful people who have teamed up with the Reich to help themselves in their own quest.
Just like Belloc.
Yeah.
Belloc.
Belloc.
But when you go back to, speaking of Raiders, again, you could sort of look at the diary, or even the map for that matter. The diary sort of is like the Ark of the Covenant in terms of plot point, because it's with the good guys, with the bad guys, with the good guys, with the bad guys, with the good guys, going back and forth and sort of a chase for the diary as much as the Grail.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Thanks, man.
I love, one of my favorite sequences is when they're tied up in the chair and they escape and the rotating fireplace. I think it's so clever and so fun. And this film plays homages to silent films quite a bit. And my favorite one is it's a Buster Keaton gag where in a silent film he jumps from an elevated place to land on a horse, and the horse runs off and he misses it. In River Phoenix, he duplicates that shot in this opening of this film. There's a lot of great, I think, just physical comedy, situational comedy, like the rotating fireplace, which turns into the Nazi office and then twisting around. It's so fun. This film, by far, is the most playful of all the movies, you could say.
Yeah, playful and entertaining, probably. Yeah. And also more Raiders infusion in here. We have Sala back with John Rhys Davies is back. Is Sala? I think that's the goal. Make it feel like Raiders. Bring in Brody back. Bringing Sala back. Bringing that Indiana Jones nostalgia and feel that we did with Raiders in 1981. Bringing that back to this film with a great third act. Getting to the Temple of the Sun and then doing the 3 trials and tribulations of the Grail is fantastic. And then getting into the Grail room, which is great. But I love the trials and tribulations. The first one being kneeling before God. A penitent man kneels. So he doesn't get his head cut off. They have those cool saws.
I fucking love that.
The swords, which are great. The next trial, really interesting with the Leap of Faith is the second one, right?
The tiles.
Oh, the tiles. I'm sorry.
You're so interested. Sorry. You can't remember it.
Should have had another coffee. The Word of God. The name of God, spelt in Latin, right? In Jehovah, spelled with an I in Latin. Or is it Greek alphabet?
You're right, Latin
alphabet.
He says the Greek alphabet when he's a kid.
Yeah, that's right.
Which leads to Which it shows like his abilities to solve this riddle. They showed you the breadcrumbs.
And then the third trial, the Leap of Faith, so incredible. I still remember the first time I saw that. I was floored.
Yeah.
So creative, really interesting. The Leap of Faith is actually an illusion where there's a stone path right in front of Indiana Jones, but it's painted so well to look invisible from forced perspective of where you're standing that there's nothing in front of you. It's just brilliant. It works so well. Great effects work from ILM, filming that on top of on a blue screen. This is really cutting edge stuff for the time. And then when the camera tracks around the path and you can see the edges of it, it's really great, man.
I got some background for all of these set pieces.
Let's hear it.
So, the first one with the blades, that's a combination of stop motion and visual effects and miniature blades created by Industrial Light and Magic and Gibbs, which is another company. And they were mixed into the live action filmmaking. So, cool little tidbit. They were like really made and then composited into the scenes. The second trial, which spells Jehovah, there's actually a different intention. They filmed the sequence where when he stepped on the wrong stone, the J, a giant tarantula crawled up his leg.
They filmed it?
They filmed it. However, they didn't think it worked. And so they did reshoots and instead filmed it where Indy falls down the hole and catches himself before falling down this seemingly endless pit.
I think that's better because you have to show a real consequence will kill you if you make the wrong step.
And so if you look at that shot, it's like a big wide in this underground cavern. It doesn't really look that great because they did it as a rush job in time for the film's release. And the composite doesn't look great, so they disguised it and they put like actual like physical stones in the foreground of the shot and then Indy's way in the background hanging. They did it that way because their effect wouldn't look good enough. They didn't have enough time to make it look great. So they basically disguised it because it was such a last-minute shot. And then the third trial, Leap of Faith, obviously being a forced perspective piece. This was done by compositing two things. So they built the set with Harrison, and then they also built a miniature that was 9 foot by 13 foot. And the one Harrison stood on was 9 feet wide, and the miniature they built was, I think, 1.5 feet wide. And so they were able to composite in the miniature they built on top of the footage. And if you look at the footage, Harrison's movement is actually kind of jittery because not quite of a very smooth composite. But I mean, no one really noticed that.
That's really cool information. Thanks. I also love the motivation for Indiana to do the trials. Donovan has a great plan. They discover Indiana Jones and his friends are lurking. They bring him over, points the gun to Henry Sr., shoots him in the stomach. Mm-hmm. Not a immediately fatal wound, but a fatal wound inevitably. And the only way that Indiana can save his father is to use all of his training, all his intellect, to go in and recover the goblet for them.
Goblet of Fire.
The Goblet of Fire. The Holy Grail for them. And it's a great way to get Indy into this because he doesn't want to. All he cares about is his father. He wants to save his father. He's not after the Grail, as he tells the guys, which are clearly the Mummy modeled. The Mummy takes a lot from this movie.
The Mummy borrows a lot from this movie in particular.
But it leads Indy through the trials, then to the final test of choosing the right cup. What cup did would Jesus have drank from?
I remember being a kid, just being like, which one is it?
Yeah.
Like, I was like so fucking locked in on this scene my first time watching it.
This movie has a couple great twists. We have a great twist with Donovan when we find out he's actually the big villain. And then a twist of, maybe this is the cup of the King of Kings, the Son of God. Mm-hmm. If you're not wise enough to realize that Jesus was just a carpenter, he wouldn't have an extravagant cup. He would be, probably poor.
A simple cup.
Yeah, the simplest cup. And it shows, even though Elsa is very intelligent, all she can think about is power and wealth and greed. Mm. That's why she immediately just picks the most luxurious and jeweled cup there is.
They did a really great job with the lighting in this scene in particular that I think just it holds up really well.
Looks like Nosferatu.
It's a great effect where the night, so the room is bathed in firelight, very warm orange light throughout the entire room. However, the light on the night, the Crusade night, is always this cool gray blue. And he's always got this cool lighting on him. He never has warmth lit on him. This is a really cool effect. It's very simple, but it illustrates that this is an ancient person. You know what I mean? If they had lit him in the room normally, the same as the other characters, it would have looked fine. But there's something really special about he contrasts from the rest of the set in such an amazing way with that blue pale light. And when I watch this film, it makes him feel like he's made of dust, and that he has been there. You can't age him. What does a 700-year-old look like? It would be a raisin. So instead, you age him with the lighting, and I think it really works.
I concur. When Indy drinks from the right cup, really exciting stuff. Saves his dad. The fizzling bullet wound was used. They used baking soda to make that fizzy wizzy bullet wound heal itself.
Fizzy wizzy, and so inside of the goblet was vinegar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's what stops the reaction.
It creates the
Yeah.
reaction.
It's just like science class.
Volcano.
In third grade.
volcano
It's the
eruption.
exact same thing.
Man, I love Spielberg
So
so
there's
much.
no water in the cup. It was vinegar.
It's a great ending. Don't take the chalice past the emblem. Elsa, with her greed, tries to leave with it, causes everything to cave in. And like we said, Elsa reaching for the chalice for her greed, for power. Indy reaching for it to get approval from his father. When really all they both had to do was go on a journey together to really finally get to know each other. And that was the real illumination for both of them.
They should have just gone on a road trip. Would have been a lot easier.
Well, the road trip wasn't... They were on a road trip.
They did go on a road trip.
But it wasn't until the Grail
Yeah.
that they really were both illuminated. I love this movie. And it's got one of the most fantastic finale shots with end credit roll shots. It's just riding the four horses into the sunsets on the horizon, riding into the horizon in the sun in a dead straight line. It looks so good. It's a perfect way to do the credit roll as well.
Yeah, the credit roll is really... it seemed like... It was hard to... I was trying to figure out what kind of fucking long lens they were using on this shot of the sun's taking up a lot of the frame.
Incredible.
And the four riders are like riding in the sun.
Yeah.
Like within the orb of the sun. It must have been some crazy long lens. And it also looked like they were moving forward on the camera was moving forward as well. But because there was such a long lens and what it's capturing in the image is so far off, it's like the desert landscape way up ahead. You can't really tell that the camera's moving, but I've noticed it seemed like it was pushing in the whole time. It seemed like. But it's a really fascinating effect. I love the shot so much. There's actually, what's really cool is in Henry Sr.'s home, when Indy and Brady go in. Brady?
His friend?
Yeah.
I think it's Brody.
What's his name? Brody. Yeah, Brody. They go into his ransacked home, and there's actually two paintings on the walls. There's one over the fireplace, and it's a painting of the crucifixion. And
it's a painting of Jesus' blood going into the chalice.
Yeah, into the chalice. And then there's also an image in that painting of a young boy sitting atop a lion, bowing. So it foreshadows having to kneel, the first task. And there's also statues of lions around the entrance of Petra. And then the second one is an etch. Looks to be like either a pen or pencil replica of a painting of a knight crossing over an invisible bridge by foot. And it's also foreshadowing the leap of faith. So we get the two foreshadows of two of the tasks. I couldn't find the second one anywhere, like the Jehovah one. I couldn't see it anywhere.
Well, it's the alphabet. Reciting the alphabet.
Oh, so in the opening of the movie then?
No, it's the same scene. He walks in and his father makes him recite the alphabet.
No, I'm talking about when Brody and Indy go to his dad's home and it's been ransacked.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, okay, yeah, you're right. Different scene.
Yeah.
Copy that. I'm with you, boss.
But yeah, you're right. That scene, though, however, did foreshadow the tiles, the floor tiles.
Sure did. It sure did.
Sure did. There's also something really cool that...
It's like Midsummer. The opening of Midsummer.
Yeah. It's they call it this lighting effect. So whenever Indy holds up a prized artifact up to his head and we get that close-up, there's always just that gold glow emanating from the artifact. They call it the god light, which I think is great because each artifact refers to a different god. So I love how there's always this golden glow of light pouring onto his face.
Harrison's a golden god himself, so...
Yeah, he is. Oh, man. Funny stuff.
Did you know that they had to breed rats for this movie?
Yeah, so they wouldn't have diseases, right? Or
Well, no, because, I mean, they needed thousands of rats because obviously first movie it's snakes, second movie it's insects, third movie it's rats, and they had to breed over 2,000 rats because it's tough to get that many rats that don't have diseases. So you have to get a bunch.
Yeah.
And you have people who breed rats breed a bunch of rats for you. So they had people breeding thousands of rats for the movie. Obviously, it doesn't take that long. And then they also had mechanical rats for when the fire comes down the tunnel. That you see a bunch of rats swimming. Those are all mechanical rats that get a lot of fire.
They didn't really toast up those rats.
Yeah.
Good. That's sweet. That's good. The rat in the hair gets me. The rat in her hair gets me.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
The screeching, the sound effects, it's great.
The sound effects are actually chickens.
Oh, that's funny.
I love this movie. Last Crusade is so entertaining. Feels so much like Raiders.
Yeah.
It's got a great arc for father and son storytelling. Their relationship is really special in movies, I think. It's got great arcs of redemption for both of them. And I think, having Nazis as not the central villain, but sort of the funders and supporters of the main villains, I think is helpful to make it feel like Raiders.
In that way, Indy can kill them and you don't feel bad.
Yeah, and it's not just
You killed them.
It's not like Nazis are the main villains. It's Donovan and then Elsa.
Yeah.
But I also think it's so tongue-in-cheek to have the sequence with Hitler signing Indiana Jones's Grail diary from his father. It's just super funny. It's so meta. It's ridiculous, and it just works.
Yeah. It's a moment of like, oh my God, is he going to get caught? It's like the guy who wants the Grail diary. He signs it. It's a great scene.
It's pretty ridiculous.
It's really funny.
But I really enjoy the fuck out of this movie.
I love Last Crusade, man. It's the best. It's awesome.
Second best.
It's fantastic.
It is. You got anything else?
That is, yeah, that's about. They were able to shoot in the Grand Canal in Venice only once. They were given permission from the city to do from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so they got the shots of him arriving and talking to Elsa. That was shot really at the Venice Canal, the Grand Canal. That was the only time they could film that entire anything in the movie at that one location.
You probably can't get that today.
No way. No way.
There's just too many people
not the
every
Grand
day.
Canal.
There's just too many people there.
Yeah.
Every single day. It's insane. If you've ever been to Venice during tourist season, fucking madhouse.
Great city, though.
Oh, it's wonderful.
What a
Nothing
place.
like it. Nothing like it.
Venice. He says it 3 times. Venice.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into our episode on the third Indiana Jones film, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Wednesday, of course, we will be finishing up our Indiana Jones month of January 2025 with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
We're like TBS with the marathon.
Yeah. Thanks so much. We hope you've been having a lot of fun with our Indiana Jones couple weeks here. It's been a blast. We've been loving it because we've never done solo episodes on these, and it's the namesake of the show, so might as well do it, especially because January is always a slow year for movies. Slow month for movies, so we're just getting some fun stuff out of the way. But thank you so much for tuning in. Again, the best ways to support us if you're concerned about us losing our TikTok revenue and marketing and audience, become a patron today. Patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Following on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, subscribing, all that stuff helps. Sharing us, even if not episodes, share Instagram videos, share reels, let people know about us. That's the best thing you can do for our show, possibly.
Big time.
Big time,
We appreciate you guys. Spotlight.
Spotlight. Take care.
See you next time.
This episode was brought to you by our chosen one patrons, Jacob Kossler and Nicholas Martin. Thanks so much, boys. Raiders of the Lost Podcast is a mirror image production. Sound mixing done by Jacob Kossler. Opening music by Chase Jackson.